In a CBS News exclusive, President Gustavo Petro spoke to our correspondent Lilia Luciano about his call with President Trump, who had threatened to attack Colombia. Tensions now seem to have eased slightly after that phone conversation. Here's some of what President Petro had to say.
President Petro, why did President Trump want to talk to you, and what did he tell him? ¿Por qué el presidente Trump quería hablar con usted anoche y qué dijo?
Bueno, básicamente porque desde el inicio del gobierno Trump y durante toda su vida no hemos hablado nunca.
You've never spoken. This is the first time, primera vez.
Es la primera vez que escucho su voz y indudablemente esa falta de comunicación, siendo ambos presidentes, pues ha sido uno de los principales problemas.
The biggest problem is that you were not speaking directly. The lack of communication between the two of us was the biggest issue. Miscommunication might have been news.
Sí, provocados conscientemente, ¿no?
Intentional.
And Lilia joins us live now. Lilia, can you give us a sense of what that conversation was like with President Petro? What else did he tell you about the phone call with President Trump?
Hey there, Moo. He told me that President Trump and Petro and himself, they spoke for about 55 minutes and that Petro did most of the talking. He said, I spoke for about 44 minutes. President Trump was gracious enough to listen to me. He told me that he talked to President Trump about a few things. One, he wanted to show off his record on cocaine seizures. Remember that President Trump has accused Petro of being, earlier this week, a sick man who produces cocaine in his country and sells it to the United States. Basically, what President Trump is accusing Petro more directly of is of not doing enough to curb cocaine production and trafficking into the United States. Petro says, look, my government has done more than any other before. Caveat being there is also more cocaine being produced out of Colombia than at any time before. But it's very important for him to show that his forces here, from the anti-narcotics police, from the military, are working hard to stop the production, trafficking, and crime that is related to this. So he wanted to make sure that Trump knew that, unlike Maduro, he says, it's not the same case. You know, I'm not really condoning or promoting or allowing for drug trafficking to grow rampant. Besides that, he told me he wanted to talk to Trump about investing in Latin America, about the importance of cooperating and investing on clean energy, and of course about Venezuela. He told me that the two did not discuss Venezuela thoroughly, that he wants to do that when he goes to the White House to meet with President Trump in the near future, and that conversation, that meeting is already in the works, according to Petro's team and to President Trump, who said it was a great honor and that he invited him to the White House. But he did tell me that he believes him and President Trump agree on the future of Venezuela, on perhaps a shared government between the opposition and the existing figures of the regime. But I also want to note that President Petro has been talking a lot about sovereignty. He has been talking about the U.S.'s interests in Latin America. He's a very far left politician and president in the region, so he's strikingly different from the politics of President Trump, and there is that concern over interventionism. Let's listen to one more thing that he told me, and we'll come back and discuss it.
President Trump said that he will run, or the United States will run Venezuela for years to come. The State Department has called this our hemisphere. Are you okay with that? With President Trump saying that the U.S. is going to run Venezuela for years?
No, yo creo que si eso se impone, estalla la sociedad venezolana.
He says that if that happens, if President Trump actually, or the United States runs Venezuela, that the Venezuelan society will implode. Basically, he says, look, I don't agree with everything on oil. He objects to this idea. He says the United States sometimes has this idea that all the resources, not just of Latin America, but of the world, are there for their taking. So he has issue with that. But he seemed to welcome the idea of stimulating the oil sector, of competing for U.S. companies and the U.S. government also to compete for bids in different sectors in the region. He said, look, the reason why China has so much influence in this region is because China has invested. It's because China has competed for a number of industries and businesses and resources in Latin America, and the United States has kind of forgotten about us. So he hopes that not in an aggressive way, not in a threatening way, but in a way that encourages cooperation and investment, that there is a bigger presence or a bigger collaboration among Latin American countries and the United States.
Lilia Luciano in Colombia with a CBS News exclusive for us today. Thank you.